G'day traders, Rich here. Today I thought I'd better show, particularly to our forum members, these enhanced algorithms that Fred has been working on. This is a major update to the algorithms we've recently posted on the forum relating to the Donchian strategy. We'll be shortly releasing these algorithms as a download file. The particular algorithms themselves relate to the Donchian trader, and there are three algorithms that we'll be releasing, which are updates of the prior algorithms. We have the optimizer algorithm, which is now version 200309, the iterator, which is now 200309, and the trader, which is 20039. In the next few days, we'll be releasing these to our forum members. They comprise major amendments and improvements and additional features that we'll step through today. But just in relation to how we operate these algorithms, the prior blog that we produced for our forum and on our social media feed includes instructions for installation, optimization, and also iteration, including the tester, which is the backtesting function. The basic description and overview still remains in relation to these algorithms, but there are some additional features which we'll go into today. So if you want to find how to operate these, simply refer to our blog post in our forum, and our forum members can refer to the download section where they can actually download these algorithms, and that will have links back to this blog post. But to go back to the individual algorithms themselves and explain what additional features they include. The optimizer, which is the first stage of our process after we have designed our Donchian breakout system, I'll just run through the particular files that the optimizer includes in its run. So our previous versions of our optimizer had a few files it generated. We now, in our optimization process, generate additional files. So we have a drawdown calculator, an equity calculator, a MAR ratio calculator, and a return calculator. These four particular files are now outputs of our optimization phase. So previously, where we, in our optimization process, we need these files to actually then move on to the iteration process, which includes enhanced functionality. So the optimization process is very much the same as was referred to in our prior video series, which is on that blog post, but it's the iteration function and the trader which has been significantly changed. To look at the iteration function, during the iteration function we get these files being generated, the snapshots and the particular strategy file. Now during the iteration phase, I'll just quickly refer to the iteration phase. So we select our iterator, and when we go into our expert properties here, we find now that we enter our password as per normal, the maximum number of strategies to be iterated. Now this comes from the optimization pool, which is around 30,000 or 40,000 different variations. We select the top 500. Now that top 500 could either be the top 500 in terms of return, the top 500 in relation to the MAR ratio, or the top 500 in relation to the drawdown. When we want to iterate based on the collections being based on return, we select 1 in this particular area here. If we want it to be based on the MAR ratio, we replace this with 2. If we want it to be based on the drawdown, we replace it with 3. In relation to the number of iterations, this is the same as what we've discussed previously. At the moment, I'm setting my iterations on 20 million iterations. From that selection of 500, I want the combination produced to be within 1 to 10 strategies. I don't want to go overboard, as we've got many instruments and many markets to trade, so we need to be fairly restrictive in how many of these solutions for a particular market are generated. So the range between 1 and 10 tends to suffice in producing the best possible MAR or return or drawdown iteration based on which you select in this particular row here. The starting balance, I just assume for these purposes we're using $100,000. So these are the additional functions in the Iterator, which our members should take note of when they're undertaking their testing. Now, before we move on from the Iterator, we do need to explain something. When we referred to our pool of 500 being based on either the return, the MAR or the drawdown, this actually is the method for the selection of the 500 strategies. The actual iteration process itself only looks in terms of MAR. So, in other words, the initial selection is either based on these options of return, MAR or drawdown in the selection of which candidates we use to iterate, but the actual iteration process itself looks at the best MAR for the combined selection of strategies. Not a single strategy, but the entire combined selection which is selected through this iteration process. The intent of this is therefore to compile a sub-portfolio of the best strategies that in combination, between 1 and 10 strategies, in combination produce the best risk-adjusted return over the testing period. So long as we've got that clear, we can now move on to the additional functions now we have in the trader itself. So in relation to the trader itself, which you can see running on the screen now, we've cleaned up the annotation on the charts. This allows you to see much more clearly what's going on. Previously, there was a lot of data being presented on these charts, which made it quite hard to see visually what was happening with your trades. So this effectively allows you to do this map to market functionality that we've discussed in our prior podcasts. So you can clearly see when you're in downtrends. Fred's also tidied up the trailing mechanism, so you can clearly see which trades are active, and it's a much better method of visualising what's going on with your trades. And also the actual output files that are generated by the trader have now been enhanced. So the individual files that are generated by the trader are the portfolio equity file and the portfolio performance file. We'll just go into each and just see what additional information is present in those files. So the portfolio equity file includes the portfolio equity on a month-by-month basis over your entire test regime. Months are detailed in column A, but each of your individual strategy variations now are represented in these columns at the top of your screen in terms of their equity on a month-by-month. Now, this is their floating equity over the course of the test range. And the last column is the composite itself. All of these are what is the composite equity over the entire sub-portfolio. So this enables us to use this information for detailed charting of our individual component variations in the strategy against our overall sub-portfolio for this particular market. The portfolio performance file, once again, has got additional information now for those of you, a bit like me, who like the analytics. We now, each of our variations has a magic number, and we can see each of the performance results for each individual variation of our strategy. So for this particular sub-portfolio, we have 9 strategies, 9 strategy variations with different Donchians, different trails. When you go to this file, you can see which particular Donchian was used, which ATR was used, stop loss was used, as well as the performance for each of those variations in terms of the MAR, the max drawdown in dollars, max drawdown in percent, compound annual growth rate, number of trades taken, etc., etc. Now, also the final file generated is for the sub-portfolio itself. So rather than having a magic number like these individual variations, you can identify the actual sub-portfolio result, which is at the end of the series. So in this case, for the entire sub-portfolio, we had 193,000 trades, and this gives you the consolidated result across the board for the test period, which in this case was between 2000 to the end of 2019. Now, the final feature that we've got embedded in our algorithms comes from our forum member Burrup, who suggested to us that to overcome the limitation over these very long backtests of broker restrictions on capping maximum lot exposure to 100 lots per trade, we're using a splitter in our code, which now, when we reach those levels, splits our trades to enable us to actually see visually the impacts of compounding without that restriction being applied of the finite number of maximum trades. Now, in live trading, we'll be accommodating this through multiple accounts to be able to exceed that limitation if we ever are fortunate enough to get up to those levels. But for theoretical practices, it's important that the impacts of compounding, which therefore infuses leverage into our returns, we must be able to see that result, because that level of leverage also affects our overall drawdown profile. So if we have this finite restriction of lots, we won't see that necessary leverage unfold, which is important to us in looking at the long-term suitability and sustainability of these strategies. So a lot of thanks to Burrup for suggesting it. We've now incorporated that into our algorithms. So, ladies and gents, that's it for this video. We've made it a short one. We hope you like these improvements and changes we've made to our algorithms. For our forum members, we'll be releasing these in the next couple of days. So if you don't forget to refer to that blog post in relation to how to operate these if you're unclear. We think we've given sufficient demonstration now in our prior videos for you to be able to do it yourselves and get a feel for it. For the testing community in our forum, we're sorry about the delay in getting the testing underway for these particular algorithms, but we thought it best to finalise the EA development before we progress down that path. But stay tuned. We'll be preparing separate videos for our testing community that look at who will be doing which markets and how to test and which broker to use and how to install that historical data that we've provided on our forum. Once that's occurred, we invite as many members as possible to join us in this testing, as the practice and implementation of this workflow process severely increases your capabilities and your confidence in these methods, and we encourage you all to participate if you've got available time. But thanks very much, and we'll see you next time. Bye. 19.